I think I'm going to have issues here today. That's very odd. Huh. Interesting. Can someone do a test for me in the trade room? Can you guys go on YouTube and see? It's weird. It's like showing my Thinkorswim platform as well as the trade room, which is odd to me. I don't know how it's showing both. That's very odd to me why it's doing that. Interesting. Guys on YouTube, can you guys hear me okay and see my screen okay? I'm very thrown off how you could see both our trade room and Thinkorswim. I have no clue how that's possible right now. Yeah, Creed, do you know why it's doing that? That's super bizarre. I'll take it, but yeah. All right, cool. So you guys can hear me okay and see it. All right, so bizarre, no clue. So those watching on YouTube, you can see the trade room, which is interesting. All right, cool. All right, so I'm going to channel my energy today, see if I can get some energy and wake up. I did not sleep very well last night, so we'll have to see if this coffee kicks in. And let's see what's going today. So let's actually go to the SPY and see what's running on the SPY, or see how the SPY is looking. As you guys can see, I don't know how they're keeping this up and keeping it rock and rolling, but good for them, good for us. It's still running. It's just super overextended, guys. So it's just, ideally you want to see SPY pull back and at least hit some support levels before it continues up. It's just deciding not to do that for whatever reason. However they're doing it, pumping money in the markets, whatever it is, it's flying. It's away from the moving average line. So you'd like to see a retest before you potentially get an entry. But market's bullish. It is green today. But at the same time, you got to watch and see. You can see here is a previous high of Friday's candle. Here's a low down here. So if we look intraday on a 5-minute chart, you can see possible double bottom or inverse head and shoulders. Obviously, it's kind of in this range right now. So we'll see if it can go and break new highs right up over here above that 324 area. Or see if it's going to trade sideways, or see if it fails below. So that's the SPY. Yeah, YouTube has a lag, guys. Yep. So other things I want to show you guys are, I'm still keeping an eye on gold and silver. So with gold and silver, you want to see with GLD, kind of has that shooting starish candle, or whatever you want to call it, inverted hammer at resistance level. So you can see it broke. It filled that daily gap right over in here on Friday, or actually went above it. Now it's kind of trading sideways. So we'll have to see, is it going to retest and go back down into the gap, or watch and see if it's going to continue upwards. Ideally, you want to buy at support levels if you're getting an entry. It's just a little bit difficult at times with things like gold and silver because of the volatility. Many times you won't get an entry because you'll get these gap ups and these crazy candles. But at this point, you want to see if it's going to hold really the base of this gap level, see if it maybe flags at some point, holds support, and continues up. You can see in the pre-market, it's a little bit bullish at the moment, so we'll have to see if it can break above that 142.73-ish area. So I'm keeping an eye on gold as well as silver. Similar pattern on silver, SLV. Let me pull that up. Silver kind of had that cup and handle on the daily. It kind of, as you can see, it went up, it filled the gap, and then it came back down and is now retesting it. And it's kind of failing the base of that gap area. So let's take a look. Although on pre-market, if you look on the pre-market, you'll see it kind of bounced above that level. So now we'll see if it holds that gap, continues up, and breaks above that 1686 level. So I'm keeping an eye on gold and silver. I'm watching it. I'm not a huge fan of Bitcoin. However, let's just take a look at the Bitcoin charts. Oops, /BTC. And then we'll look at some penny stocks. So Bitcoin, it kind of is hitting this angular resistance right up here. See if it can get above that 7,500-ish area. Let's see what it's doing pre-market. Not much at the moment. Or it's, yeah, I don't know if it's going to have a pre-market chart. So you can see kind of just a messy sideways chart, but it's volatile, right? So the volatility, if it breaks above that 7,500 level, it might have a little bit of room. But again, I'm not a huge fan of Bitcoin, but a lot of people are. So we'll have to watch and see. And let's go to some penny stocks pre-market. You can see that SVRA has a new high of about 430. This one is really gapping up today on news. Let's take a look at the daily chart. And as you can see right now, guys, it's it's right at that 200 SMA, that black line on the daily. So ideally, if you're bullish on it, you want to see it get above that 200 SMA and continue up. And you can see some resistance right around that 620-ish area. So if it can hold that 200 SMA on the daily, watch and see if it will continue up. And let's see, that puts us right at, so you can see it's right near that 200. See how it's rejecting right at that 200 SMA on the daily at pre-market high. So ideally, again, guys, you want to find those flag patterns or watch when price retest those moving average lines. When it gets way out here, it's super overextended. So you want to see it pull back and see if it'll hold support levels and form a potential flag. At the moment, it's super overextended, probably going to pull back at some point. But got to watch and see the volatility on these at market open, see if it can get above, ideally, that 430 level. But just be aware of how far it is away from support levels. All right, what else we got? NIO. NIO is another one. So ideally, you want to see it like this. This is ideally what you'd love to see at market open, right? You'd love to see these bull flags at market open, you know. But many times in the pre-market, you'll see them with these low floaters or these small cap stocks, and then at open, many times they end up dumping. But, you know, this is what you're looking for, right? Let the stop break up, come back, break out, come back down to moving average lines, right? Trade the breakout, take your profit. Let it pull back to the moving average lines, take your break, you know, let it break out, consider taking your profit. Let it pull back, you know, get in at the break of the flag, and then decide if you're going to take your profit. You know, again, I can't tell you when you're going to take your profit. Obviously, you got to look at candles and reversals and all that. The longer you're in a small cap stock, you know, depending on your entry, if you get an earlier entry, you could ride the 9 EMA, and when you get a candlestick close below there, stop out. But if you get a later entry, you know, sometimes, you know, towards the end, it'll dump a lot harder. So if you get an entry, let's say this is market open, earlier, you could ride it typically a little bit longer. But if you're waiting to get an entry later at market open, and let's say you're down in here, and then like it's a low float stock, it could, if it's super overextended, it could dump a lot more. All right. Apple and Disney, huh? People love to at me. Score, you love adding me, don't you? Let me look at Apple. It always scares the heck out of me when people at me. That's the beep. It goes in my ear and jars me. All right. So Apple, very overextended. Has that kind of that spinning top candle. You know, at this point, it's just so dang overextended. I want to see it pull back to support level, at least to the 9 EMA, bounce before I'd look for an entry. It's just, you guys got to, it's just so overextended. So at the moment, 293. I'd look at 300 also, huge resistance. 288. So look at this candle. Let's take a look at it pre-market. It's trading in a range right now, trading sideways. Kind of has a head and shoulders pattern. So, me personally, guys, I don't like that risk. Again, if you want to know just as simple as possible what I like to trade, NIO would be the perfect example of pretty much every stock I look at, whether it's small cap or large cap. I look at this. If I can teach you anything, you'll see me talking about it all day long. Bull flags. This is the textbook pattern that I like right here. Whether it's depending if I'm doing a daily or a weekly or a monthly or a 5-minute or a 1-minute chart. I like bull flags. I like to let the stock break out. Little candles back to the moving average lines. So that translates back to the market for me as well. So if I look at SPY or any of, obviously I'm looking at other patterns as well, right? So you can see just this, the SPY is just, it's absurd. Look at this megaphone pattern. It's absolutely, it's absurd. So me personally, I would never, I'm looking for these like flags, right? Back to these moving average lines, right? I would never buy way out here. Could it break out? Absolutely. Who the heck knows what they're going to do and, keep this up. But at this point, it's just so overextended. Ideally, I want this thing to either break out of this megaphone pattern, just break out, let it fly, or break down and touch support. So I'd feel most comfortable when this stuff starts happening, right? When it starts hitting up that resistance, let it pull back and hit these moving average lines, support, get a bounce, then I'd consider it. Again, that's just me. I just like this right here. Flag, 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 flag. And then when it gets way out in these areas, I'm out. I'm not playing around that way out there. Does that make sense to you guys? Awesome. All right, so we're looking at a combination of some small caps, gold, silver, the market. Let me see here. I might just kind of show you guys my chart here. I might kind of keep this like this, kind of move it around. So you'll see I have a 1-minute chart set up right now on these small cap stocks. And then I kind of have a 5-minute chart set up down here for gold, silver, and the SPY. And markets open and SVRA. Keep an eye on this one now. Now it's breaking pre-market highs. So again, guys, watch for the retest if you get one. You got to be very careful trading at market open. Just because a stock breaks pre-market highs doesn't mean you get in right away. You'd like to see a retest and hold. So we're going to watch and see, many times this thing will break out and then it won't pull back. So we got to watch and see. $5, I'd look at resistance level right up here. So I'd let the flagpole form, watch if it pulls back. SAVA. It's testing VWAP, that green area. Watch for some resistance right around that 640-ish area here. You want to see it break 640 so it'll break that head and shoulders pattern. Otherwise, you can have a head, left shoulder, right shoulder. Keep an eye on NIO. That one's creeping to pre-market high at 301. So we're going to watch. So now watch the retest on SVRA. Watch if it flags. NIO is breaking out. So kind of same thing with NIO. Watch if there's a retest at $3 and gives you a flag. And SAVA is not breaking above that 640-ish area. So right now it kind of has a head and shoulders-ish pattern. Good morning, YouTube peeps. So, and as you can see, NIO blasting off. Again, you have to trade your what your trading style is, guys. I like bull flags. I like retests because you see stuff like this happens. The candles get just really wacky. So I like pullbacks, small candles off of support. And let's see, gold and silver in the market. So these are all 5-minute candles at the moment. Let's look at the market. Everything's a little bit wonky at the moment. So watch right here with SAVA if it'll break above that 640-ish area. Right here, getting a bounce off SVRA. See if that 450-ish area will hold. Again, for me personally, it's a little bit, these candles are, 460 down to 432. These are some bigger candles. Let me see at SVRA if that's low floater. It's kind of a medium float stock. But right here, I'm starting to look right in here at these guys. See if the 9 EMA will catch up, give you a smaller candle. Hold that 436 area. Just be aware that these candles are a little bit, it kind of has a possible symmetrical triangle-ish pattern here. You want to see it hold that 438-ish area. Just be careful that SPY is dumping right now. So many times this is where you have to be careful. You want to see these flags hold because many times you'll get a candle or two up and then it dumps. Keep an eye on the SPY. Currently SPY is dumping, so just keep an eye on that. Watching right here on NIO. Candle's a little bit smaller, right above $3. We'll see if it forms a hammer. Needs to get above that 307 marker and then 316. Now at this point it's poking up a little bit above 307. Now at this point, if you looked at NIO, you want to see it break above 316. You could use that 9 EMA or this hammer as a potential close, but you want to see this 9 EMA catch up, push price above that 316 level. And right here now with SVRA, see how it's just poking right at that 458 level. This one, the volatility on these candles is a little bit more riskier than for me. But right here, you can see at this point, now it's breaking above that 307. You want to see the 9 EMA catch up and push it above that 316 level. And SAVA broaching that 640 level on that possible head. You want to see it break that shoulder on the right shoulder. At this point now, watch that 316 level. If it doesn't break 316, it's possible it could form an ascending triangle or a double top pattern right at this point. So you want to see it hold really that 307-ish level. Keep an eye right here on SVRA. It's still bouncing off that 9 EMA. And SPY is dumping now, dumping hard. No surprise. All right, NIO creeping above that 315 level now. If you're bullish on NIO, you want to see it hold that 315, 316 level. SVRA, still a little bit weak. Watch for the retest on NIO. See if it holds. And all right. Disney and Lowe's. All right. So, guys, give you an eye on... I'm going to go look at Disney and Lowe's. Again, keep an eye on SPY dumping, silver maybe creeping up. Want to see gold right here. Gold maybe creeping up too. Just keep an eye on this 142.73 level. NIO needs to hold that 318 level. And as you can see, SAVA broke out as well. Now you want to see SAVA hold that 660-ish level. All right, let me take a look. Just show you guys the market quick. Let's look at the SPY, and then we'll pull up at this point. All right. Oh, that's a weekly. Let's look at the daily. All right, so as you guys can see here, I showed you guys the other day, there's that star pattern. Now it's failing that star at this point now. Watch this 320.85-ish level, that 9 EMA as support. So it's basically an evening star pattern at the moment. Disney. Yeesh. On the daily, not looking so hot. Kind of has a head and shoulders this pattern. Might be doing kind of falling wedge or a descending triangle. So kind of a descending triangle-ish. At this point, I would use right over here. Kind of some support right at that 50 SMA. So that's on a daily chart. It's failing. You can see if you zoom in here. Bearish moving average line crossovers. Watch down to the 50 SMA as support. On the hourly, it's dumping and failing the 50 SMA as well. Dumping hard. Could draw your... could draw your... This is where trend lines... You got to look at Trend Spider. I don't have it pulled up right now. You draw your trend line like that, or kind of like down in this area as well. Got to watch, see how it's bouncing right off this lower trend line right here. That's a nasty looking candle. Lows. Let me take a look at lows. That's a tricky looking chart right there. All right, so lows. So you got some all-time highs there on 121.46. If you go to the daily chart, this is one of those ones that gets really tricky. You have these smaller spinning top candles off the 9 EMA. It could look like it might want to form an ascending triangle, but it could also form a head and shoulders. Use those moving average lines as support. Let's look at the hourly. Not sure what's taking so long. Nice job, Creed. I don't know what the heck is going on with my hourly chart of lows, guys. What the heck? Anybody else having a problem with Thinkorswim right now? Yeah, something's going on with it. All right, let me pop into Trend Spider. Let me pull up Trend Spider, guys. Give me a second. Yeah. Good old Thinkorswim. All right, so I have Trend Spider pulled up. Again, keep an eye right here on the SPY, see if it holds that 9 EMA. Lows, let me go back to that one. That's the daily chart. Let's look at the hourly. Yeesh. Trading sideways for me. I don't like stuff like this, guys. It's just trading sideways. The market's wonky right now. And it could do either, right? It could form, possible ascending triangle and break out, or it could form a triple top, head and shoulders, and fail. Market's looking a bit wonky, so I don't know. That's just my, I don't like it. All right, so everybody's saying, okay, Thinkorswim froze, think it's back. Let's take a look. So just to show you guys, right, what we were looking at earlier, SVRA just traded sideways. You had that one little candle, and then it dumped down. Right up here with NIO. Back now, you want to see right here, that 320-ish area. See if it can hold. And right here. Draw your trend lines. See if it... dang it. See if it can hold and break out right here. Hold that. Probably, yeah, the 9 EM right there. See if it can break out above that 328-ish level. And let's look at the daily. It's got some room. I can see up to that. Let's see. Hold on a second, guys. My freaking charts are acting wacky. Let me pull up a bigger one right now of NIO. All right, so NIO. See that 5-minute candle? You want to be very careful with that. It kind of has a high wave candle. Again, bit overextended. You'd like to ideally see pullbacks to the 9 EMA before, when it gets overextended like this, but many times you just won't get something like this with kind of a small cap stock. So now at this point, you want to look at that 1-minute chart, and you can see these candles are just really huge right now. So the risk is just a lot more when you see after the stock like this breaks out, gets a lot of volume. You want to see ideally smaller candlesticks like this as it breaks out. And you see these dark cloud reversals, consider taking your profits. I'd like to see smaller candlesticks right off that 9 EMA. These bigger ones they just make for bigger risk. All right, so let's go back to... So SVRA is dumping at the moment. Let's look at SAVA. SAVA. Look at gold and silver. And look at the SPY dumping still. Let's pull up GLD. All right, so GLD is breaking that 142.73-ish level. Let's look at the daily. All right, so possible cup and handle-ish on the daily chart right now. Let's look at the hourly. If it can hold that 142.73-ish level. So right here, just be careful right here. You can see it's pulling back at the moment. So I'm going to keep, you can see right here. That's where you got to be careful with the volatility on gold, especially with gold. Gold's a lot quicker moving than silver. Again, higher risk, higher reward. I'd like to see it hold up that 142.73-ish level. And you can see that one's dumping right now. Silver's probably going to be pulling back as well. Yeah, kind of similar pattern. So I'd like to see it give a decent setup on a 5-minute. I'm not really a fan of those candles right now. Let's see if the SPY is moving back up. SPY might be getting a bounce down here. Let's keep an eye. Possible reversal bounce. Right around. As you guys can see right here, just kind of showing you guys side by side, you can see SPY is getting a potential right now, potentially a bounce. Now, a lot of times it doesn't always work this way, but sometimes you'll see a lot of times the inverse with gold and silver with the SPY. So if SPY is falling off, as you can see, gold and silver were moving up, and now SPY is getting a bounce, maybe reversing back up, which may give a reversal down on gold and silver. That's why you got to watch these. I kind of watch them together because many a time, especially lately, you're seeing them kind of run a little bit inverse of each other. So when one goes up, the other one seems to be going down here. But you got to be careful with these, because with gold and silver, you have no clue what they're going to do on, everything is showing you the SPY needs to pull back and pull back a lot, but they seem to keep pushing it back up, right? The charts on gold and silver are enticing you, showing you that, oh man, you might want to get in on that, but you don't know if they're going to prop the SPY up and dump gold and silver and screw at those charts. That's why it's just getting very messy lately, and that's where I'm kind of watching these very closely together and see what they're doing. So this is where kind of bring you back to those gold and silver charts again in the SPY. So what the hell is going on with... let me pull up TrendSpider back up again. It'll make it a little bit easier. So going back to the SPY, not SP, SPY. All right, so the SPY or SPY right here, you want to see if it's going to hold that 9 EMA, right? So you can look and you can see, oh man, super overextended. This thing's got to pull back hard, right? But doesn't necessarily mean that's going to happen. It might form a little bounce, off the 9 EMA, and then it might bull flag and continue up, right? So this is where you got to watch the charts and not just look at emotions, because you can see, again, at resistance, oh, that looks like it's going to fall, but, you can see this has been riding that 9 EMA for a while, except for this pullback down here. You want to see stuff like this. This is what you want to see, when price hits resistance, pulls back, hits those moving average lines, comes back up, flags off the 9. That's what you'd like to see, right? So we don't know what's going to happen, and this is where, kind of you got to look at the stuff, and that you got to be very careful. So it's hard to kind of go long on, picking a direction with SPY and gold and silver, because you can see this and say, oh, this is going to pull back. But what if they bounce it off the 9 EMA, keep it going, and keeps flagging on up, and then you get trapped on. So if you look at, actually, let me show you the weekly chart on SPY, and then I'll show you gold and silver again. The heck, TrendSpider's having trouble too? Jeez. Anybody having a problem with TrendSpider that uses TrendSpider? All the stuff is wonky today. The heck? There we go. All right, so this is kind of what I was trying to say to you guys. So gold, right? It may have had a breakout on the weekly right here. You can see it kind of broke out last week, right? So this is where you got to be careful, because you can see this big green flag, weekly flag pull up. This may continue up. However, it may form a cup pattern. It may continue and break out, or it could come back down and trade sideways for a while too, right? Remember, flag pulls many times form flags. This could form a tweezer top, and then it could dump right back down, right? So if you're looking at a weekly chart, you look at this, and it could go either way, right? It could break out, keep going up. You can draw your trend line as well like this, connect these valleys right over in here, right? So connect this valley right in here. And so this is where you could see it kind of has that megaphone pattern. And this is what makes me a little bit more nervous with gold is, you can see the 9s over the 20. It is a bullish sign. It's just a matter of your timing, right? On this, if you're holding shares, let's say, you might be able to be in it longer. But if you're in options contract, stuff like this, depending on what type of strategy you're doing, if you're doing a spread, it might work more in your favor. But if you're buying just straight calls, if you're bullish and trying to go long term, this is where they could trap you and just kind of like, you know, it could just, you see like this right here, they could just trade it sideways like this for several weeks. So at this point, I'd like to see it continue up, go bullish, get above that 143 area and continue up. That's on a weekly chart. Daily chart, let's look at that. I don't know what's going on with these charts. Here we go. So again, the daily chart, this is where you got to be very careful. Looks kind of like, so you had this breakout here last week. Ideally, you want to get near support levels, right? Buy at support, sell at resistance. As you can see, as it's breaking out, it looks like a cup and handle. However, it's far away from support levels. So this is where they could trap you either way, right? So trying to get an entry now when it's out here like this, it gets a very risky because it could easily dump back down. So they could dump it back down, or it can continue up. You want to see it break these. You can see these candles. This is what I like to show you guys. It's not like as clean of an entry, right? When you're looking at gold, especially gold, right? When you're looking at support levels, you can see these candles are just, they get a mess, you know? So when they break out, you can see kind of down in these levels back here, pretty decent, you know, kind of a decent level right in here. But then as you can see, as it breaks out, do you guys see the roller coaster? And the candles are just not really clean. You get a really good, kind of a cleaner one down here a little bit, but you can see how they just become like just like a roller coaster. And that's what kind of concerns me. We're at this critical moment right now. We don't know. It's kind of like choose a direction, right? The market either just break out and fly or break down, do something. And you can see with gold and silver, it's kind of getting trapped in that. So this is where you got to be very risky or very careful because it's away from, it's at resistance levels right now. So you can see this gap, got to see if it holds. But that's with gold, and then silver, kind of the same thing, but it's a little bit, it's kind of like a little bit less volatile, but kind of similar patterns. And actually, let me go back to gold on a monthly chart. Let's just pull that one up really quick. That's why I'm kind of watching these all to see what they do, you know, at the end of the month here. Actually, that'll be tomorrow, so. Guys, I'm sorry. I don't know why these charts are acting they're really going slow at the moment. So you can see on the monthly of gold, might be setting up kind of a cup and handle-ish or inverse head and shoulders. So now you have the monthly. We'll have to see how this one holds on the monthly. If it holds, it may break out. Again, look at resistance around that 150 level. It's just, I like to see a little bit cleaner charts. So you can see right there. And the monthly looks pretty decent. And on the weekly, right? You guys see what I'm saying here? Maybe cup and handle, may double top and fail. And then you can see on the weekly chart, if I'm looking for entries here, it's just very tough to get them as clean as I want. You'd ideally have liked to get in back here. And at this point, it could go either way. Is this making sense to you guys? Excellent. So that's where I've just been a little bit I'm making these videos trying to show you guys these things lately, and that's where me personally I'd like to see a direction on this stuff, right? So I'd like to see the SPY just either break down, gold, break out, break down. It's just everything's kind of in that. If you sneeze, either one of them can go either direction right now. So that's why I'm kind of waiting to watch and see what's happening, because this is where the charts are very important and you could get really screwed going off of emotions of what you think something's going to do. It's all a matter of what they're going to do with the SPY, and are they going to keep it up or is it going to end up dumping? You know, so that's the whole magical key. And if they keep it up, then who knows what they'll do with gold and silver, if they'll dump it or if they'll trade in a range. So I've been a little bit frustrated with these charts lately because I just want to see it do something, right? So go or pick a direction. So with SPY, as you guys can kind of see here, kind of these lines that I've drawn, you can see back here in 2000, you can see that big channel going up, and then 2008, and you can see these trend lines go out to the future, and there's just this massive megaphone pattern. So again, I want to see this thing either fly or come back down. And I'm a little bit cranky, guys. Sorry. I'm a little cranky the past few days because I've been I'm trying to help you guys, right? So this is where I can know, you know, I can understand what there's all that's going on in this world. And going into 2020, I'm trying to make these videos to help you guys. And it's hard to see what they're trying to do here. And that's where, like, days like today and these past couple weeks, it just makes it difficult to show you guys. So again, if you're trading, it's a little bit easier. So if you're only going off trading, right, then I would just basically say, hey guys, go short-term positions. Maybe you're day trading, holding for a day or so. But, like, you know, the market's not like way back here, right? You're not getting these bull flags where you can just ride the 9. Now you're way out over here, and it could go either way. So it's a lot riskier when it's way out here like this. It's easier to swing trade when the market's going up like this, or when it reverses down, you know, you can take short positions on the way down. It's just when it's up, like in these areas right here, we don't know what the market's going to do. You can see there's kind of going back to the SPY here. You can see back in 2018, you had about 5 weeks of warning candles before it reversed down. Back here in the beginning of 2018, you had 1 week, right? So you had that, what do you want to call that? Bearish engulfing or a dark cloud cover, whatever you want to call that, tweezer tops. You had 1 week warning. Right here, you had 5 weeks warning. Right now at the market, you are getting potential warnings. You have a couple spinning tops. We'll have to see what happens here. But just because you're getting warnings, like it might want to reverse and pull back down, you don't know what they're going to do, if they're going to, whatever, prop it up and break it out, right? So you hear these kind of this talk about QE and stuff like this. That's where you know, part of you thinks, oh yeah, it's definitely going to pull back and fall down. But then you hear Trump saying quantitative easing, and you're like, okay, what are they doing, right? So that's what kind of concerns me, is I don't know if they're going to prop it up and break it out, or if it's going to pull back down. So as far as trading wise goes, you know, just teaching you guys, you want to buy at support, right? These support levels. And then when it breaks out, consider selling at resistance. That making sense? All right. Thanks, Amity. I appreciate it. Trying to help you guys. Trying. NIO. Yep. So SVRA and NIO. You can see SVRA is moving on up. It's bouncing off VWAP. Careful of a possible head and shoulders. So you can see head around 487, that left shoulder area around 430. So if you're bullish on SVRA, you want to see it get above that right shoulder around 430-ish. Just careful of that kind of spinning topish candle, and then ideally get above 450 level. And with NIO, you want to reset it, have it get above 328. You can draw your trend lines, right? So watch with NIO. It's at a really critical support level right now. See if it flags and can break out of 328, or watch if it fails and this is a double top failure back down to support. All right, still watching gold and silver right now. So gold and silver, you can see they have very similar patterns bouncing off the 9 EMA on a 5-minute. And you can see SPY. So now is SPY going to do a bear flag and fail here? Now it's at kind of a critical level. I'm really going to watch this silver and gold at the moment. You guys see how these are kind of running? Again, it doesn't always work this way, but you see how they're running kind of inverse of each other at the moment? SPY kind of has right now kind of a bear flagish pattern, or kind of like when it's falling and potentially moving back to the moving average line, showing some weakness, and then you can see potential kind of a pennant-ish pattern, maybe cup pattern here forming. And you can see on these penny stocks, as you guys can see, they're kind of bearish at the moment, right? You see a head and shoulders on SVRA and showing some weakness right now on NIO, and SAVA had a double top failure. Still watching NIO. What is the megaphone pattern? Let me show you guys that in a sec. So keep an eye on NIO. Right here needs to break that 328 and hold. If you're bullish on NIO, needs to hold that 328 area. So watch if it bull flags and holds 328 or if it dumps. I'm going to watch NIO for a second. Remind me if I forget to show you megaphone pattern. Just keep an eye on NIO. Retesting 328. And these are the candles that get a little bit tricky when you see this, right? These kind of these doji spinning top candles. Bottom line, you want to see it hold that 328. We'll give it a minute or two, and then I'll show you guys that pattern. And so you can see on, man, these charts are really tricky on gold and silver. Silver's a little bit easier at the moment. You want to see it. See right how it's right at that wick right over here at that 142.73. You can just see these candles are just very volatile at the moment. All right, so NIO again, still right at that 328 level. See if it can flag and hold and continue up. You want that 9 EMA to catch up and push price up. Right now, NIO is retesting angular support right around that 9 EMA, so watch if it flags here. It's a very critical point, so you want to see, is it going to bull flag right below that 328, hold that 9 EMA and break out, or is it going to fall and break down? At the moment, it's definitely showing some weakness. Right at that 20 EMA. If you're bullish on it, you want to see it hold that 20 EMA. You can see right now it's getting much weaker of a flag, but watch and see. It might hold, see if a hammer forms here. And it could stay above that 9 EMA and see if it can break out. If not, see, now it's definitely showing some danger at the moment. So watch this candle here, see if it can form right above that 9 EMA, or if it's going to tweezer top and fail back down. As you guys can see with SVRA, these spinning top candles just, they mess with you. So you can see this whole morning here, you had that one move up. There's not one bull flag that I liked at all the entire time. Keep an eye on SAVA. You can still see some weakness on NIO. Right now, watch if it can bounce off VWAP, that green dotted area. Careful though, in a 1 minute, it might be tweezer topping. Yeah, these are all showing weakness right now, guys. I'm not a fan of any of it at the moment. If I'm bullish on anything, I'm looking a little extra closely at gold and silver. But at the same time, SPY, keep an eye at, so this, they may form this into a cup pattern, buy it and push it back up, and then dump gold and silver. That's why I'm watching these with each other. So go back to what I was showing or saying with Megaphone Pattern. Let's go to a monthly chart. Let's remove these drawings. All right, so that's a megaphone pattern. So picture like, a cheerleader, they have that megaphone, whatever you want to call it, right? It's got the small, whatever. I'm on video right now, so I got to be careful with my hand gestures. What do you call it? A small, a small opening and then a wide, like, base or whatever you call it, right? They're yelling, whatever. They're making noises in a megaphone, right? You guys know what a megaphone is, right? So it widens out, right? So it widens out at the end, smaller at the base. So kind of like that, right? So it's kind of a smaller base and it's just kind of widening that broad formation. Now, typically with megaphone patterns, typically when it's way out here at resistance levels, you can see it pulls back, right? So you see how you connect these peaks right here? Well, out here, as you can see, as it hits these peaks, it pulls back. Hits these peaks, pulls back, right? And you can see the lower support levels down here. So connect the peaks, connect the valleys. That is a megaphone pattern. So yeah, Rose, that's funny. So as it hits these resistance levels, typically it wants to pull back. Doesn't mean it's going to crash, doesn't mean it's a recession, doesn't mean it's going to drop hard, but this is a massive, massive, massive megaphone pattern. Largest I've ever seen. But so that's where you could typically say, okay, huge megaphone pattern, man, the market's going to drop hard, right? Well, you know, it should typically, but there are things like quantitative easing, an election year, lots of talk going on. You don't know who's keeping the market up or pushing the market down. You have no clue. So typically when you see out here on this megaphone pattern, this is normal. So back in 2018, when this happened, this is not fun to go through these pullbacks, right? Huge pullback, not fun to go through, but normal, right? So if the market pulls back down to this 50 SMA again, that'll be normal. But 323 down to 253, that's a huge drop. There'll be a lot of people panicking, calling recession and all that. Just because it falls down to the 50 SMA, if it does not mean a recession. However, at the flip side, we don't know if it's going to pull back here. We don't know if they're going to break this thing out, throw more quantitative easing, negative interest rates in the market, prop this thing out. And then, so this is where I'm concerned for people is natural. I would never buy anything on the planet when it's way out here like this. But they could, again, they could fake people out right here, completely break it out of the hugest megaphone pattern I've ever seen and prop it up, and it could fly, right? So it could go either way. That's where it's, the market could sneeze either way right now. It could sneeze and break out or sneeze and just easily break down. So as you guys can see here, this is normal, right? So on a weekly chart, when you see this kind of falling down like this is normal. You want to see stuff like this. And I'm just waiting for this, but it could totally trick out and, trick us and then completely break out. Does that help with megaphone pattern? John, I'm not really on YouTube. I'm not too familiar with them myself. So I don't have experience with them personally. With Sure Trader. Let me see. Spy, hit that 9 daily possible VWAP run. Let's see. Yeah, look at that. Right down to that 9 EMA. Well, gotta watch and see here. Let's look at the hourly. Dang. Oh, and it's failing that 200 SMA on the hourly, too. Gotta watch and see, guys. It's hitting that. So it's kind of do or die time. We'll have to watch and see. That 9 EMA, very important. Then you got to picture like that 13 EMA, probably right in between the 9 and the 20. So we'll got to watch and see. Definitely bearish at the moment. Let's look at gold and silver. Man, these charts are really tricky with these spinning top candles. NIO is breaking out, huh? Look at that. At this point now with NIO, you want to see it hold, continue up right above that 330-ish level. Sorry, guys. I've been really distracted today because I've been trying to keep an eye. It's so hard for me to keep an eye on penny stocks today because I've been waiting for this stuff to start happening. So I've been really trying to pay more attention to gold, silver, and the SPY and see it pick a direction. So my focus is really divided today where I'm at a normal market, it's just easier to kind of like look at penny stocks and hey, here's what's moving and stuff. But there's some potential. I'm looking for opportunities on direction, right? When something's either going to roll over or break out. And it's been also tricky seeing just this stuff, right? Trading sideways. I'd like to see it pick a direction. And I'm seeing right here, SPY is rolling over, but it could bounce off here and they could trick you. So you can see, again, there's so much stuff going on. So my brain, I have a difficult time paying attention. I'm usually singular focused on things. So keeping track of several things at one time is not what's best. My brain doesn't really do too well with that. All right, so with NIO, just watching this at this point, this one's a little bit easier. It breaks out. Watch and see if it pulls back and holds 332 and can flag and continue up. I'd keep an eye on 350 as resistance, those whole and $half amounts. But it's stuff like this. You like to see these flags. As you guys can see, right? You can see these flag pulls, right? Kind of pulls back, breaks out, people takes their profit, right? Kind of flags down, breaks out from the flag, people take their profit. Comes back down, breaks out a little bit, they take their profit. And then you can see it kind of starts going a little bit nuts. You can connect your trend lines at this point right along kind of here. So I could leave it here, or I could at this point just use that 9 EMA as a guide. What would I be looking for if I was looking to go long on SPY? On SPY, honestly, I can't go long on SPY because it's just for me personally. Again, this is me. Everybody's risk tolerance is different, and I'm not sure why the heck TrendSpider's acting wacky today. I like bull flags off support levels. So I like seeing stuff like this, right? So, when it hits resistance, pulls back, reverses, and comes back up, I like this, right? Hits resistance, comes back down, gets back above moving average line support. I have a bull flag off the 9 EMA. I like stuff like this. So me personally, I'd like to see the market just do something. Fall, drop, hit the 20, hit this lower trend line, hit the 50, or just bounce off of the 9 EMA. I still would be very careful going long because you have to remember, guys, this is where I gotta channel my inner filter. If you've been watching the other videos that I made for you guys recently, those 4 about kind of the markets with gold and silver and the SPY and the banks, you got to remember something. 2020 is not going to be a normal year for us, for any of us. It doesn't matter whether you like the president or whether you dislike the president. It doesn't matter. It's not a normal year, right? There is an unbelievable amount of stuff on both sides of the aisle going on. Some of it good, some of it bad, and some stuff we don't know on either side of the aisle that may potentially come out. So putting that all together, if you can separate your emotions and look at the chart. So again, you can look at the charts, and the charts make me worried because they're super overextended. However, there are things in the tool bag that, going back to this, if you look at the videos I've been showing with you guys or sharing with you guys, I mean, since 2009, this is phenomenal, right? So let's do that megaphone pattern again just to show you guys. I can just kind of connect these peaks right out here, or, I mean, just kind of show you guys, right? So this is unbelievable, right? You have 401k, right? 2008 financial crisis happens, market tanks. If you have a 401k, you're happy. Over the past 10 years, you're very happy in your 401k with this. So under Obama and under Trump, if you, forgetting who you like or dislike, if you have a 401k, you like having more money in your 401k. Let's call it like it is. Doesn't matter who's president. If you have a 401k and it's up and it keeps going up, you're super happy because you have more money in your 401k. The whole issue that I've been kind of trying to kind of bring people's attention to is, what are they doing behind the scenes to do all of this? All of these 10 years, right? So this is great. The problem is the root. What's at the base of that 10-year run? I'm not saying it's going to break down, because I have no clue what they're going to do, because they have this unbelievable tool in their bag called quantitative easing, or QE, and there's been several rounds of it. I'm no expert in quantitative easing. I know very little about it, but it's kind of a tool that they can use when they decide, or whoever decides, to prop the markets up. So in your 401ks, that's great. Problem is, how long can they continue to do it? I can't predict the future, right? So, there were several rounds of it under President Obama, and I've just heard President Trump talking about it recently, which causes, just for me personally, a little bit of concern, because you're like, if the market's at all-time highs and we're rocking and rolling and everything's great, why would you need to do quantitative easing again? These are things you got to think about, right? So this is where I look at all of this, put emotions aside, and I say, this thing is just a juggernaut. It's got to pull back. But what if they do some QE and blow this thing out of the water, right? So if you're a technical trader, so you guys, you got to remember this, right? We're teaching you the technicals, right? We're teaching you patterns. We also teach you that patterns do fail. Patterns are not 100% foolproof. So when you look at a Megaphone pattern, typically the majority of the time is it's going to reject that resistance and pull back down. That's kind of typically what happens. But remember, putting all this stuff together, 2020 is not a typical year. So what if they trap all of the bears, they throw in, more quantitative easing in the market and just blow this thing out and completely break this Megaphone pattern out and trap all the bears? That could happen, right? So this is why I want to, it's hard, because we're trying to teach you guys, and this is where I would say, going long, me personally, I would only go long off these bounces off of moving average line support. I am fully well aware right now that I could say I wouldn't go long unless it bounces off these moving average lines, fully well aware that they could throw more quantitative easing in the market and blow this Megaphone pattern out and break out, right? I'm willing to say, whatever, I'll let that happen. I personally wouldn't take that risk. I look for these little bull flags off of moving average line support, these bull flags, and when price gets way out here, I'm taking my profit. I buy these bull flags, let it ride up. When you see these crazy looking candles, I'm out, right? That's just me personally. So just use that on the market, and then use it for, let's go look at Apple. Apple runs typically with the market. There's no way on the planet I would ever buy Apple right now. Never, ever, ever, ever would I ever buy Apple. Knowing full well that Apple might go up to $300, who the heck knows? It just broke. As you can see, Apple had kind of a Megaphone pattern, and it broke out, right? So you can kind of see right in here. You guys see what they did with Apple? So Apple had this giant Megaphone pattern, and it's broke out, right? So they could do something like that with the SPY. Maybe they break it out and it goes up like this and keeps flying out in the wind. Or sometimes, many times, it breaks out of a Megaphone pattern, tricks people, and then it dumps. This making sense for you guys? Questions? You see how it's very hard for me to tell you. This is what I've been kind of agonizing for and over the past few weeks, trying to get you guys videos because I want you guys protected in all areas as much as possible. So again, we're not financial advisors. We can't tell you what to do. All I just know is, like, for myself, I would never myself personally buy a stock ever way out here. Never. Too much risk. I mean, this looks like a low float stock, right? I mean, that's Apple. It looks like a penny stock right now. It looks like just like it's pumped up, right? I don't know how long they can keep this going for. They may continue it all year. I have no clue. But this is just, the risk is just massive. So you could buy Apple at $291. It could easily fall down to $172. It could easily fall back down here. Megaphone patterns are supposed to come back down to these areas, but it doesn't matter. Like, you don't know if, or when. It could be quick like this. It could be gradual, or it may never happen. It may take months. It may take years. But buy at support, sell at resistance. That's the simplest thing that we can teach you guys. And the safest, if you want the safest way to trade, look for bull flags like this. Right? See that? Small little bull flag off that 9 EMA. Comes back down again right here. See that? Bull flag. Bull flag. Bull flag. You guys see when it gets out over here, you see how you get longer entry over here. You know, you can be in it longer, but you see how the more those bull flags happen, you see how it gets riskier, and you can see it gets further away from that 9 EMA out here, and you're able to be in it shorter. So you ask me, well, when do you go long, right? Well, what is your definition of long, right? So you can see here, you know, ideally, I'd like to be long back down in these areas. But as these flags start to form and it gets bigger, it's harder to go long, right? I'd wait for it to then do stuff like this, fall back down. Then I'd look to maybe get long in over here because I can say, okay, kind of a flag off the 9 EMA, see if it can go and break highs, and I could watch this 9 EMA, right? So I can be in it a little bit longer over here. And then watch, it pulls back down again. I wouldn't be long down in here. Let their pattern fail. Get it back above moving average lines again over in here. Kind of a flag here. Then I'd watch it again, right? Goes. It does break. So then I could use that 9 EMA as a guide, right? So now at this point, I mean, you see this stuff, right? Are you going to take your profits in here? Like, this is a lot of a roller coaster, right? Hindsight's 20/20. So when this is happening, these are months, right? So if you got him back over here, this is going to make your stomach turn, right? So it's very easy to look at the chart now and be like, oh, yeah, I would totally stay in that. Well, look at, that's like 6 or 7 months of just trading sideways, you know. And then depending if you're owning shares or you're owning options, what is this going to do to your options? All of that kind of stuff, right? You got to think about all that stuff. And then now if you look at the charts now, if I was looking at a monthly chart of Apple, me personally, I would never go long on this. Like, not until this thing completely drops, hits off some major support levels, gets back above, and gives me like a smaller entry. If I don't get these smaller types of candles, the risk on this is massive. You know, let me go to a weekly chart of Apple. Yeah. So I'd like to see it come back down. And this making sense to you guys? Yeah, I typically like the breakout of a flag. That's what I like. Again, there's so many patterns, guys, that you can trade. It's just, I feel like your best risk management is let the flagpole break out, let the flag come back to the moving average lines, and then risk small candles off of moving average lines, knowing full well that candles can, candlesticks do fail. Let me go to a daily chart, see if I can show you guys a better setup on it. I'm trying to see if there's like a clean one I like. Sometimes you don't get clean charts, but like stuff like this, right? It moves up, consolidates back to moving average lines, and then I start looking. You guys see these small little hammers off the 9 EMA? You can see how this was about to get above that 200 SMA. So you can see, okay, this is where it's holding support. I might risk off of this candle right here, and if it breaks out or if it starts to break down, I'd use a candle close below this as my stop, right? So you can see it's getting above a major moving average line. Look at my entry, small little candle near support, and then I could use that 9 EMA, ride it as a guide, or I can take my profits when I see these shooting star candles way out here, so I'm not like giving up lots of profit, right? Because if you're if you're trading just a straight call or something like that and you have a month or two out and then it pulls back like super hard like this, you could get back a ton of your profit. So, and then looking over like here, you can see it's not as clean on these charts, right? You can see the candles are a little bit bigger because a lot more people are watching it. I would have probably looked, you can see it bounced off this lower trend line here, moved up. I would have looked somewhere maybe right in here again. And then as you can see after that, I would never trade Apple like this. This is just too volatile. The candles are too big for me. I might day trade it, right? So that's a different story, but going long, this is just too risky for me because it's not near these support levels. So, can it keep going up? Sure. But you can see these flags, they're a lot riskier. The candles are a lot bigger than down over in these levels or back, kind of in these levels right here, right? Let me look at Tesla. Tesla will rip your head off. I actually like saying it's, I've heard people talk about that all the time. It will rip your head off. Who the heck know? Like, first of all, 2030, I want to know what the stock market's going to do in 2020. Predicting something 10 years out, we have no clue. So right now, Tesla is look at the chart on this thing. So right here, try going long on Tesla right in here, right? So if you look at Tesla, that's a roller coaster, guys. Try going long on that. Very difficult. That'll make your stomach turn. Day trader, people day trade this all the time. But you want to see if you're long stuff like this, but then just be aware, guys, stocks run with the markets. So, watch the market, right? So if the market has a huge pullback, is Tesla going to go to the moon? Probably not. It may, but I doubt it, right? So typically stocks run with the market. So look at the pattern on Tesla today, and then look at SPY. You guys see an identical pattern? Same thing, right? Look at Apple. Same thing. You guys notice that? Apple, Tesla, SPY, all running together. The problem that we have is this. We have a giant megaphone pattern. And what I want to see, personally, to feel comfortable, just give me some type of drop. give me something that holds and give me some type of bounce. If you want to bounce down here and get back above, cool. So this is what I like, right? Let it fall back down, get a little hammer, get above the moving average lines again, and then maybe somewhere in here I'd look to go long. But as you can see, this is after a major run, right? So you can see it gets riskier because more people are watching over here. It's a little bit easier when you're way back here, right? So as far as Tesla goes, I don't know. I mean, I'm looking. I don't trust, to be honest with you. I don't trust what any of them tell me something's going to do 10 years out. They don't even tell. If you think about it, right? These people in these companies are telling you what something's going to do 10 years from now, but they don't tell you what it's going to do 10 days from now, right? So if they know what something's going to do 10 years from now, how come they're not telling you what it's going to look like 10 days from now, 10 weeks from now, 10 months from now? That's where we learn charts, we learn patterns, and that's what we go off of, because as we've been teaching you guys, that's why I'm more of a technical trader, not a fundamental trader. I don't really care necessarily about the fundamentals because I let the fundamentalists do the work for me, right? Because fundamentalists do all the research and all that stuff on the stock. And then what do? They leave me the clues on the charts, right? And all I want to do is I want to buy low, sell high. So if I'm going to hold longer term, if I get a good entry, let's say I was looking at Tesla. So where would I get an entry on this to go long? That's a roller coaster. Maybe right off of here. It's still risky. Look at how close. It's still far away from the moving average lines, right? But I can see kind of a bull flag right here. Maybe I would have risked right in here. Down here, you can see a high wave candle. Maybe I would have looked out here, but this is a flagpole, right? So maybe down in here. So this is kind of right. If you're going to go long on something and you see it and you got an entry off of 336 and you're up and price is at $436, what are you going to do? Are you going to take that $100 profit? Or are you going to hold it forever and watch what happens, right? You can say, well, Tesla's going to go to the moon. Okay, maybe. But what if Tesla pulls back with the market and the market pulls back hard over the next year or 2 years or whatever, a few months? And what if you're up $100 and then Tesla pulls back down to the 20 EMA or 200, right? No one's saying this can't happen if Tesla runs with the market and the market pulls back really hard and Tesla starts failing. Now you went from being up $100 to being down potentially, right? So this is where you can't get so greedy. This is where I don't listen to. It's that shares mentality. And guys, if anybody understands share mentality, right? You want to buy a bunch of shares and hold something long term. I'm the king of, in the past, doing that. I've made really, 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 really terrible trading decisions that I just strictly lucked out. I can't even explain it more than that. I've had more money in things that I've done really stupid things like buying $40,000 worth of gold contracts, straight blind calls, holding because I thought I was going to be a gold millionaire several years ago. That was just dumb before I learned charts and doing all this stuff. And I was about 2 weeks shy of completely losing my all of it. 2 weeks. This is where you got to be careful of that shares mentality and buying and holding something forever, because especially with straight calls, because you could just completely blow up your account. And that's the industry, right? Most new traders come in, they listen to Cramer or whoever, buy, hey, Apple looks great, perfect example, that video I did on JP Morgan recently. JP Morgan, says to buy stocks in 2020 and short gold. That came out 2 weeks ago. And then I look at Apple, and so if I saw that Apple, if I saw that 2 weeks ago, if I look now, Apple's at $293. So thank you for the stock tip, JP Morgan, right? JP Morgan says buy stocks. What do people do? They go to Apple because it's probably one of the most important stocks. And they're going to say, cool, I'm going to buy Apple for 2020. I'm going to get a head start because they just read the headline. Cool, let me buy Apple right now. Well, why the heck would you buy Apple way out here? Like, what's it? You know what I'm saying? So why doesn't JP Morgan or these companies tell us where to buy? They say, oh, just buy stocks. What do they know that I don't know? Is Apple going to drop hard? And then maybe there's an entry because you want to buy low, sell high, right? So maybe they know Apple's going to drop hard at some point, and then there's a dip buy, right? Short gold, that's weird because we have cup and handles on the daily. You typically wouldn't necessarily short that, gold or silver. So you got to this is where you got to be careful listening to what people tell you and look at the charts, right? Charts don't lie. What happens is you lose money typically in the market, not because the charts are out to get you, not because the market's out to get you. It's because you made a poor trading decision that most people, again, we all make bad decisions, right? That's why risk management is very, very important. So that's why you don't just listen to somebody because they tell you something's going to happen. Like, again, case in point, I always bring it back to Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin's the most hyped thing on the planet. How many people bought and lost their life savings at $20,000, right? So at $20,000, how many people bought here, completely tanked on them? They got to wait all of this time, right? Then they hear the hype again that Bitcoin's going to go to the moon. It's going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. And they could have gotten some of their profit back here at $13,000, right? It wouldn't have been all their $20,000, but they could have recovered something. And then they held again because everybody's telling them to hold. And you know what they did? They didn't learn charts, right? You buy low at support levels and you start selling at resistance. But the shares mentality, right? People want to say, hey, let me just buy something and hold forever or hold till it goes to the moon, because now I'll guarantee you there's people right now that are looking at Bitcoin, have no clue of the charts, and they're saying to themselves, Bitcoin was $20,000. If I buy 1,000 shares at $7,300, I guarantee you people are doing this, guys. Hey, if I put I got 1,000 times, let's see, 7,500. Actually, that's never mind. Maybe not that. Maybe that's a terrible way to put it. Whatever. Just like there's Bitcoin stocks. You get my point, right? So people are putting their life savings in. There's Bitcoin stocks, all that kind of stuff. But they're putting their life savings at something thinking, oh man, it's going to go back to the moon over here, right? And we don't know. I don't know what Bitcoin's going to do long term, but all I know is the charts on it suck. It's at resistance levels. It could break out. It's just very volatile. And case in point, this is what happens with things here's a perfect example. I stress it over and over and over again. Are these volatile sectors like pot stocks? So ACB, this is probably my new favorite example to show of what happens when you buy off of hype. So I'll go back to ACB in a second, but let's go back to CAN. CAN is a stock called Cannabis, General Cannabis. If you do your research on them, I believe I don't even know what the heck they were named in the past, but they did, I think, a couple name changes, right? You'll notice with some of these pot stock companies, they may have been like an auto parts or they may have sold auto parts at one point, and then they changed their name to Cannabis. And then the new trader comes in saying, oh, wait a second. Hey, Cramer told me pot stocks are going to go to the moon because, they're going to get legalized. And so what am I going to do? Well, hey, I don't have a lot of money, so let me research penny stocks. Cool. Oh my God, Cannabis. What a great company. It says Cannabis. Let me buy it. And then look, how many people lost their life savings on Can way back here in 2014 and bought it at 64 bucks. It's 53 cents. So I show you this because these stocks run in Bitcoin, right? There's so many penny pot stock or penny Bitcoin stocks. Same thing happens. This is why you never just buy off of hype. So how many people bought, 1,000 shares of can and put $64,000 into it, and they're sitting there bag holding 5-6 years later. So that's can, right? You can say, well, there's a lot of other legitimate stocks out there. How about those Canadian pot stocks, right? Okay, cool. Let's go to ACB. Aurora Cannabis was the second darling of Canada back in 2016. Look at that. What a nice little bull flag. And you can see back in, actually, where was 2016? I think right into here, right? So there you go. Broke out. Darling Canadian pot stock goes up to 12 bucks. How many people bought cannabis, right? I'll tell you what. You know who didn't buy out here? People that know how to trade. You know who did buy out here? People that don't know how to trade. These are the people that buy off of hype out here. They buy off of hype. The new traders that don't learn charts. I don't care the fundamentals of ACB. I don't care about it. You know what I would do? I would immediately look at this chart and say it's complete garbage. Double top failure all the way back down. Who the heck knows where it can go? But here's a perfect example of people saying how great ACB was. That was the second most popular stock when I was looking back here in 2016. It was this one as well as the one with Snoop Dogg. It was TWMJF. Anybody know what that is now? CGC, I think it is. Let's take a look at that one. Canopy growth. Here we go. All right, so canopy growth, right? Back here, guys, 2017, right here. So here you go. So this was the Canadian darling back here. Snoop Dogg's company, I remember. I think there was some other rapper in it as well. The stock's going to the moon, and it did, right? It went from $8 all the way down here. Boom, this thing flew up to 60 bucks, right? You know who bought out here? Not traders that know what they're doing. It's people that didn't know charts and they listened off hype. This is where I don't care what I don't care what the fundamentals are. I let the fundamentalists do it. I'm looking at charts, right? So look at what happens. How many people bought 1,000 shares of Canadian pot stock, Snoop Dogg's company, the darling of Canada, at 60 bucks, and now it's down to 16, 18 bucks, right? Charts don't lie, guys. So what happens here with CGC and Bitcoin and all those companies? Same thing as Apple. Go to Apple. Now, again, it's not as volatile. It's more of a popular, it's obviously more of a popular stock, but it's the same thing. Professionals are not buying way out here Apple. They're looking at support levels. They're buying low. They're selling high. Could Apple keep going up? Sure. You're just crazy if you're going to buy it way out here, unless you understand your risk or if you're day trading it, but if you're like, hey, I'm going to buy Apple because, Cramer told me if I buy it now, Apple's going to be $1,000 in 10 years from now. How the heck does he know that? How do we know that? We have no clue. You got to look at the charts. But if you get back, if you got in an Apple way down over, in these levels, down at support level, maybe you have a better shot maybe of holding it. You buy it way out here, you have a much better chance of it pulling back and dumping on you. That was a long rant. Somebody triggered me on a rant. Sorry, guys. Hopefully that helped. Did this help you guys at least, or did you guys tune me out? Thanks, Philip. It just drives me crazy, guys. We're trying. Every day we're trying to help you guys with this stuff. And it just sickens me. It really sickens me when I hear this crap of people saying this stuff. Stuff like whoever just told me who said that. Yeah. Article. Yeah. Tesla. $4,000. Like how? Thanks for triggering me, Living Waterway. How the heck does Chowdhury know that Tesla's going to... I don't even know Chowdhury. Who the heck is Chowdhury? I don't even know. How the hell does he know that it's going to be $4,000 in 2030? Unbelievable. That's my rant. I got a few more minutes and then I'm going to wrap up for you guys. It got me all heated. Brooks shoes. No, I'm not ranting anymore. Score. That's that's so Score says, which support level do you check in on? I mean, which moving average lines? And do you look weekly, daily, or monthly for support levels? So I would actually say like yes to all of that. Meaning I look at all that stuff, right? So this is where if I'm doing the levels myself, or I could use a tool, again, Trend Spider, we just love Trend Spider. Again, just show you guys this. I'll just do I'll spend my last few minutes on Trend Spider because just makes the process easier. Hold on a second, my computer's messed up. Okay, so if you go to our website, bullishbears.com, right here, here's a link. So if you go right over here to our tools section and you look at tools, we did a review on Trend Spider right over here. I believe there's a discount too as well. So check out Trend Spider under our tools section right over here. Where is it? Trend Spider, right? Read our review. There's a discount, all that good stuff. Reason why I like Trend Spider is this, because if you go back over to Thinkorswim, I got to do all this stuff myself, right? And the thing is, guys, right? We all have a bias, right? We might miss a trend line. We might want to see something that's there, or we might not want to see something that's actually there. And this is where the charts don't lie. Our emotions can screw us up, right? We may see or want to see something that's there or that's not there, and you can end up getting burnt, right? What I like about Trend Spider is I could pull up a stock like Apple, and there's several things I can do, right? So I can go up over here. I can do most relevant trend lines. I can add more lines. I can add all lines. I can remove some of these lines. I can keep the ones that are most relevant. And now this is a daily chart. I can do daily versus weekly or daily. So you can see how it adds more trend lines in there. I can do daily versus monthly, and monthly trend line down here. I could do none. I could just have the most relevant ones. I could also go to monthly chart of Apple, and so you can see kind of the base trend line down over here. I can add more lines, so you can see then there's like a whole bunch of them that can pull up here. So you see how quick it does this stuff for you. Now there's other times I haven't figured out. I don't know why. I gotta ask Dan to show me this or talk to Trend Spider. I wish it had more of that. I have to figure out why it doesn't do like upper ones at times that I'd like to see. I don't know why it's not doing that. Anybody know why it doesn't do that? Let me go to a daily one. So it's got some of them on the daily, but sometimes you got to connect ones yourself. But you see kind of how it does them very quickly, and it saves you the time. So I like Trend Spider because it does my trend lines for me. And then when I have something must have happened to my setup, because I used to have my, I'm not sure why it doesn't have sorry guys, I'm not the best technological wise. It had my lines here before. Anybody else use Trend Spider in the group? Why the heck am I missing my... I can't see my moving average. I used to have a whole spot here. Something... Anybody know why I can't see my indicators over here? I used to have all my trend lines over here. Now I can't see like what I had over here. Anybody in the trade room? Do you guys use Trend Spider? Where I used to have, I don't know why it's not showing that there today. My indicators. When you highlight it, click on collapse indicator when you highlight it. Not working. If any mods are in there and are listening, I don't know why the heck it's not showing me my indicators. Anyways, I'll just tell them to you. Load your workspace once again. Yeah. I'll just tell it to you guys. This blue line right here is the 9 exponential moving average. The 20 is the red line is the 20 exponential. The purple line's the 50 simple moving average. The black is the 200 simple moving average. And then I have VWAP as well. I don't know why the heck something happened to my indicators. I don't know what happened. I have to refresh this. Guys, I'm terrible with technological stuff. That's why I go to Dan, so I'll have to ask him later why it's not showing me. So I look at these as my support levels, and then you have these trend lines. And you see, again, with this kind of the setup, I do look at all levels, but it's also, remember, guys, it's what type of trader are you? So if I'm a day trader, I might not be looking at a monthly or a weekly chart as much. You know, I'm probably looking at a daily and hourly and maybe a 5-minute, 1-minute setup. If I'm going long, like if I was a trader more like Tim, Tim is more of a long-term trader. Excuse me. So Tim would probably be looking at monthly, monthly charts, weekly, and maybe a daily or so for entry. But he's probably not looking as much at 5-minute and 1-minute charts. So it all kind of depends on what type of trader you are. And something happened to my this is ridiculous. You guys notice? Everything disappeared on me. Try switching worst paces. Ay. I'm gonna call it a day, guys. So I don't know. I'll get this fixed. I'm not a technical guy, but I'll get this fixed later. Everything disappeared on me. Trend Spider is awesome. You just got to spend some time, guys. I have no patience learning stuff like I go off of the basics of it, and then I use Thinkorswim as well. So I have kind of my Thinkorswim and this is the first time this has ever happened to me where I just can't figure out what the hell's going on. All right. So that's what I got for you guys today. Let's go back to Thinkorswim. Let's see where we're at with everything. So remember what I was saying with you guys, watch and see with the SPY. I was saying maybe it's going to turn into a cup pattern. You can see it's kind of moving up a little bit, and you can see gold and silver is kind of moving down with it. So this is where, again, guys, like I want to see direction. And at this point, just things are just it's a bit challenging at the moment. Let me get out of, so if I go back up to SPY, so at this point, got to watch and see what happens, guys, right? We don't know if this is going to turn into a bull flag off the 9 EMA or if it's going to turn into a head and shoulders pattern on the daily and then start filling the moving average lines. Again, that's a daily chart. And so me personally, I'm usually more of a shorter term. I don't like holding for very long. So I'm kind of like a daily and hourly kind of guy. I like these bull flags, right off here, breaks out in a few days. I take my profits. I let it look for an entry again, breaks out, take my profits. Bull flag down, breaks out, take my profits. That's me. So I'm not in things very long. I don't have that patience. I hate loss. I just hate it. I don't even like losing $1. Doesn't mean I won't lose $1. I just don't like loss. But that's me. There's other people like Tim, he'll go long term. So he might be just looking at the monthly or weekly charts, and then he's not going to worry about these pullback days. So that's where it doesn't mean I'm right or wrong. It's just my style of trading. I'm just a very, very kind of shorter term trader. What do you think, guys? What's everybody think? So that's SPY. Let's look at gold again. So gold, right? Got to watch and see. Is this going to form a cup and handle? Are they going to push it back down to the gap area? And you can see it's away from moving average lines. So just because something looks like a cup and handle, the handle can end up failing and coming back down. So they might trade this, sideways and might fail back down to the moving average lines and then go and break out, right? So we're trading sideways right now. Got to watch what happens. Want to see one of them, just choose a direction. All right, so yeah, I like so my kind of my niche is I like when a sector's running, I like bigger stocks in that sector. Like if gold's, GLD or silver's running, I might day trade or very short term trade gold or silver. If SPY is running, maybe I'll trade the SPY or SPX. Oil, like USO, UCO. But then I also like the niche of like when the market's, trading, or going up or choosing a direction. I really like the niche of like this. I personally am not a fan of low floaters. I do not like low floaters. I don't like trading them. I like stuff like this, like that $10 to $15 range where I can look at these and say, okay, cool. I can come in and maybe get a few thousand shares of like stocks between $10 to $15. And, I could pull up, let's say, show you a couple of them, TTM. Typically they have patterns, right, that you can go off of. I'm not a huge fan of these gap ones, so I don't like that one. But let's say, a stock like, something like this where you can see, okay, I look at this, it's trading sideways, but then, okay, boom, I can see maybe a bull flag right here, kind of a flag, cup and handle, or inverse head and shoulders. I can then, kind of draw my resistance levels. I can see, okay, cup pattern moving in, kind of a bull flag. All right, if I got in on something like this and I bought shares, then I might say, okay, if I'd like a little bit cleaner of a pattern here, but I could use this and say, okay, if I got in above 991, I could use this 9 EMA as my guide. So if I was in on shares on this and not options contracts, I can just kind of ride this, right? So I could wait for a candle close below the 9 EMA, or I could decide to get out up here. So many times, like I might day trade something like this, or I might short-term swing trade, and I look at patterns, right? So I like that $10 to $15 like niche or sweet spot because there's ways to scalp in there that, if you have a decent size account and you can buy shares, then I can look at stuff like, ideally I like 5 minute, stocks like this, I look for 5 minute bull flags. Now, a lot of times you won't get them if it's kind of trading wacky and crappy like this, but like, this is probably a bad example, but let's look at a couple. AG is a gold stock, so, or silver stock, First Majestic. This is what I'm looking for, you know, in a stock like a $10 to $15 stock. Let it move up, you know, move back to moving average line. You know, I can see a 5-minute bull flag, and then maybe I'd like a little bit cleaner of a bull flag, but you see this where you know, you're not going to get these bull flags on a 5-minute chart usually on a low float stock. That's where you got to switch it to a 1 minute. So this is what I kind of like to see. You know, something like this, I would start to look at it now. It does have kind of a head and shoulders, but you see, like, I have a shot, like, that gives me some time, right? So I like to see it kind of move up, give me some time back, and then, you know, a lot of these times you can get a 1 minute entry and then trade the 5-minute candle setups. So that's kind of like the niche I kind of like as well. If the sector's not running, I just use like a $10 to $15 scanner and then kind of go in and do scalps. You know, get an entry on a 1 minute, then decide whether I'm going to trade a 1 minute bull flag or whether I'm going to get out on a 5-minute reversal. All right, I am done, guys. You have a wonderful rest of your day. Hopefully this all helped you, and I'll catch you all later. Enjoy.